Hey, how's it going? I hope you're doing well today. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. My name is Jess. Today I'm doing the mid-year freakout tag, which everyone's been doing. It's been so fun to watch, and this is my first time doing it, so I'm super excited. To share some stats on my reading so far this year, I have finished 35 books. I'm currently in the middle of 2 more. I have read 8,841 pages, and I have 94.8 hours of audiobook time. I've started listening to them more on my commutes or while I'm doing chores or while I'm gaming, so I've definitely been racking up a lot of hours in that. Definitely more than last year. So let's get right into the questions. The first one was, what was the best book you've read so far this year? And for me, it was an easy answer. It was Hungerstone by Kat Dunn. This is one that I listened to on audiobook, and it was phenomenal. The narrator was amazing. This is actually the second book I've read from this author, so I had a pretty good feeling going into this one. The first book that I read from her was Bitterthorn, and that one was also a 5-star. By the way, this is a 5-star read, of course. This was a no-brainer as my favorite book of the year so far. I ate it up, pun intended, so. If extremely mentally ill characters and sapphic yearning and vampirism and cannibalism are your thing, you will like this. So the next question was, what was the best sequel that you've read so far this year? Again, this was a pretty easy answer for me. It was The Galaxy and the Ground Within by Becky Chambers. This is the 4th in the Wayfarers series. I have loved every book in this series. They're all kind of their own standalone plots for the most part, although the story of book 1 and book 2 are much more connected than book 4 is to the others. The funny thing about this one is this was actually the 3rd book that I've read in the Wayfarers series technically, because I thought it was the 3rd entry. And at that point I was like, well, it's too late, I'm already reading it, so. I do need to get around to The Record of a Spaceborne Few, which was the actual 3rd book in this series, but the 4th one, The Galaxy and the Ground Within, was just phenomenal. If you've read a lot by Becky Chambers, then you know how her writing is so cozy and inviting, but it also gives you a lot of really deep feelings to analyze and concepts to really mull over. I found this one to be really emotionally engaging and very uplifting, very heartwarming, but also a little bit sad. This one deals a lot with found family, and if that's your thing, this whole series is for you, but especially I would say the 1st and the 4th book. The next question is, what is a new release you really want to read but haven't yet? You may notice it's disappeared from behind me, but that would be Blood Over Brighthaven by Emma Wang. This is my broken binding edition, and it is absolutely jaw-droppingly gorgeous. I've heard nothing but glowing things about this and the most amazing reviews, people saying it's one of the best, most imaginative fantasies we've had in years, so I cannot wait to get around to it. I've been kind of avoiding this one because I know I'm gonna love it and I know I'm gonna be obsessed with it, but I need to wait till I'm in the right headspace for it and so that I can be fully ready. But yeah, this is the one I've definitely been dying to get to. The next question is, what is your most anticipated release for the rest of the year? For this question and a couple of the other questions, I couldn't pick just one, so there's going to be between 1 and 3 answers for almost all of these. This autumn is absolutely stacked with releases that I'm excited for, but to name a few, Hazelthorn, Local Heavens, and The Second Death of Locke. Based on the teasers and predictions that have been posted so far, I'm pretty sure The Second Death of Locke is getting an Illumicrate special edition, so I'm definitely going to be getting that one. The next question is, what was your biggest disappointment of this year? And for me, it was Silver Under Nightfall by Rin Chupeco. This one is a fantasy about vampire hunters and vampires that rule in different courts. And there's this undead plague that is bringing about all these vampiric monstrosities, and they're destroying the villages and things like that. This also features a polyamorous male-male-female relationship, and I was really excited for that because you don't really see polyamorous representation in books that often. In the first half of the book, the relationship dynamics that were getting built up and the yearning was really good, and I was enjoying it, but then once they got together, it just started to unravel from there. I wasn't enjoying it as much, and the plot started to kind of feel like everything but the kitchen sink got thrown in, Some very predictable twists that I literally saw coming in the first couple chapters, and I wasn't surprised at all by the end. And just the way that the world building and the storytelling was kind of put on the back burner while we were so focused on the romance between these 3 characters, it just started to feel like the end wasn't as good as the beginning was. I pulled this one out of the on-haul pile to show you, but yeah, I will be unhauling this unfortunately, and I'm not going to continue on with the duology. The next question is, what was your biggest surprise of this year? And for me, it was Bat Eater and Other Names for Cora Zhang by Kylie Lee Baker. I will talk about this one in length in my June reading wrap-up. It was a surprise for me in the sense that I didn't even think I was going to read this because I had heard that it was really gory, really violent, really disturbing and disgusting. And I was like, I don't think I can handle that. I'm not really a huge horror reader. I wasn't sure if it was going to be at a tolerable level for me. I had heard such amazing things about it from everybody that I follow, and I was kind of getting huge FOMO, so I was just like, fuck it, I'm gonna try it, and if it's too much, I'll just stop reading, you know? It was not too much at all. It was fantastic. I loved it. For me, it was just the perfect balance of mystery, suspense, horror. There's some imagery in this that I don't think I'll ever forget, and there were some really deep quotes and moments in this that are also going to stick with me for a long time. I'm very happy I read this, and now I just want the Illumicrate copy of it because it's so beautiful, and I'm mad that it costs so much money. The next question is, who is your favorite new author? And by new, I interpret that as new to me. I've only read one book so far by this author, but it was so well written and fascinating and enticing, and the world just really sucked me in, so I cannot wait to read more from this author. But that author is N.K. Jemisin. The only book by her that I've read so far is The Fifth Season, which is in the Broken Earth trilogy. I actually read The Fifth Season in June, so you're going to hear much more about it in my June reading wrap-up. I thought the first book was so fascinating, and the narrative choices that were made in this book and the plot that was introduced, the world building that was established, was just so well done. I was honestly in awe of everything that she accomplished in this book, and I felt like my brain was going to explode by the time I was done with it because it was just so good. I can't wait to read the rest of the Broken Earth trilogy. I'm giving myself a little buffer time to recover from the fifth season because it was so dense. But she also wrote The City We Became and the sequel that I don't remember the name of. I'll put it over here. I've also been really excited to start this duology, and after reading the fifth season, I'm even more excited. The next question is, what is your newest fictional crush? And because I'm indecisive but also bisexual, I couldn't pick just one. The first one is Luciana from The Phoenix Keeper by S.A. McLean. I have a special edition of this one, so let me show you the illustration of her. I mean, just look at her. Just look at her. She is the main character Ayla's rival in this story, and at first she just comes off as this kind of like ice queen, grumpy, unlikable character. But throughout the story, you get to see this vulnerable side of her and this softness that she has in her. Once she lets down her guard a bit, though, I think that she's really a sweetie, and she's so great. And the next crush would be Devon from The Ornithologist's Field Guide to Love by India Holton. This is a really adorable romance between two scientists who study mythical birds, and they're actually rivals in their field. Why are these all rival books? I guess I actually kind of do like rivals to lovers. They are academic rivals, but they end up working together for a common goal, and I think that their banter is so funny. This book has a lot of humor in it anyway, but I just love their banter and the way that they are constantly picking at each other. Devon in particular comes across as a total wife guy, and not in the derogatory wife guy way. He's just so in love with her. He's so obsessed with her. He thinks that she's an angel brought to earth, and he just talks so highly of her. It's just so easy to love him and their relationship because, like, who doesn't want a guy to worship the ground they walk on, you know? And for the more chaotic, unhinged, not very well adjusted answer, I have to say Carmilla, but specifically Carmilla from Hungerstone. I would let that woman do unspeakable things to me, and that is all I will say on the matter. So the next question is, what is your newest favorite character? And for me, that would be Hazel Sinnott from Anatomy: A Love Story and Immortality: A Love Story, which is a duology. This duology is set in sometime, I think, the late 1800s in Edinburgh, and she is a young woman who is determined to become a doctor. Well, specifically, she wants to be a surgeon, but at the time, women weren't allowed to be doctors or surgeons, so she does whatever it takes to gain the skills that she needs and to learn about anatomy and to enter into the Edinburgh College for anatomy. I just love her ambition and her drive and how she doesn't let anything get in her way. And when you see that this is called, you know, Anatomy: A Love Story and Immortality: A Love Story, it is a love story in that there's romance in it, but it's so much more about her love for surgery. And I think that is such a good message. The next question is, what is a book that made you cry? And for me, that was Forget Me Not by Alison Derrick. This one is about two young girls who are secretly dating in a very small, conservative, religious town. And they're dating, but they're having to keep their relationship a secret because if their family or their work or their friends found out, it could be really dangerous for them. And also they're afraid of losing their friends and family because of their relationship. But everything changes drastically when one of the girls has an accident and loses her memory of the last 2 years, which means that she forgot the entirety of her relationship with her girlfriend. And so this book ends up being a really heavy exploration of identity and remembering who you are and remembering the choices that you've made or the things that have happened that have shaped your life. It's also about grief, but not really grief for death, but rather grieving over things that you've lost, the memories that you've lost, and how she's struggling to fit back into her life because to her the last 2 years didn't happen. It was just a really emotional book, and I felt so invested in the dynamic between the main characters as they're trying to reclaim their relationship again, and it was just a really heartbreaking but also heartwarming story. And I don't really cry that often when I read, but I definitely cried a few times during this. The next question is, what is a book that made you happy? And again, that's Phoenix Keeper for me. I talked about the romance a little bit in this one, but I didn't really touch on the plot at all. This one is basically set in our real world, except that magical creatures also exist, and our main character Ayla has always wanted to be a zookeeper, and she specifically wants to work with phoenixes and the phoenix breeding program at this zoo so that they can help the conservation efforts of the species and bring them back from endangerment. This book is very slice of life and just kind of focuses on Ayla as she does her normal zookeeper duties and as she pursues her dream of bringing the phoenix breeding program back to its glory days. I didn't think I would enjoy this one as much as I did. I found that I was just enjoying being with Ayla and watching her do her little zookeeper duties and chores and working on her paperwork and things for the program. It was just very slice of life and cozy, and I really enjoyed watching Ayla's character development throughout this and her dynamic with some of the other people that work at the zoo. I found that this one just made me really happy and I didn't really want to put it down. The next question is, what is the most beautiful book you've bought this year? And for me, it's not just one, but it's a whole series. And that is the Scythe series by Neil Shusterman. This is the Illumicrate special edition set, and they are stunning. They've all got these stunning dust jacket artworks, and the sprayed edges as well are really beautiful. And the naked hardcover of these is also stunning. I'm not going to take off all the jackets to show you, but this is the second one. This is the third one. And then this is the fourth one, which I believe is actually a series of stories that take place in this universe. These are definitely some of the most stunning books that I own, and I spent way too much money on them to not show them off. And the next question is, what is a book you need to read by the end of this year? This one is a tough question to answer just because obviously my whole TBR needs to get read at some point. But for this year specifically, I would love to read The Parable of the Sower and Parable of the Talents by Octavia E. Butler. By the way, these aren't the original covers for them. I don't know what release this was, but I just thought they were absolutely stunning, and I knew I for sure wanted to own these. I just didn't know what editions to get, and then I saw these, and it was an easy choice for me to get these. This is a dystopian duology that was written in 1993, but the first one is set in 2024, and the second is set in 2032. A lot of what takes place in this duology seems eerily similar to what has been happening in the last few years in America. I think this is the perfect time for me to read these, and I think a lot of people have been revisiting dystopians recently because of everything going on. But anyway, so that's Parable of the Sower and Parable of the Talents by Octavia E. Butler. Definitely want to read these this year. And with that, that's all the questions for the mid-year freakout tag. It was really fun doing this one for the first time. I hope you guys enjoyed it too. If you did, please like, comment, and subscribe, and thank you for watching. I will see you in the next one. Bye!